गिरिवरधार जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपीश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ओम श्री राम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं राम राम वरामे। कायेन वाचा मनसा इन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्या आत्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणाय समर्पयामि। सर्वं कृष्णार्पणमस्तु। अनंतकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। Thank you all for giving me this opportunity to discuss this topic. Chapter 11 of Canto 1. As you all know, the Srimad Bhagavatam is no different from Sri Krishna. And every time you read it, you feel a slight change in yourself. And it's true every time you hear it as well. And since the Bhagavatam is not different from Sri Krishna, just as one takes darshan of the deity of Krishna gradually from the lotus feet to his lotus face, one is recommended to read and study the Srimad Bhagavatam also step by step. First starting with the first canto and go all the way to the last canto. So we are so fortunate to be able to do this. The Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most benevolent incarnation of Lord Krishna, has hailed the Bhagavatam as the spotless authority, Pramanam Amalam, on all spiritual subject matters. Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu declares that hearing the Bhagavatam is one of the potent forms of Bhakti Yoga. Srila Prabhupada considered the Bhagavatam as the postgraduate study of the science of God. The deepest longing that everyone has is love. And that love is available only through true relationships, beyond all selfishness. This spiritual love cannot be measured in material calculations. It can only be indicated by the separation that one feels from the beloved. This chapter is a supreme representation of the love that the Dwarkavasis had for the Supreme Lord and that the Lord had for them. This, just to anchor us into the story, there are multiple narrations going one inside the other, inside the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Suta Goswami is speaking to the sages at Naimisharanya. We heard about the glorious passing of Bhishma Dev by Her Grace Nityakishori Mataji. And then we also heard from Her Grace Sindhukanya Mataji about Lord Krishna taking leave of the Pandu family to go to Hastinapur and to go back to Dwarka. I'll actually quickly start sharing my screen. So I've got I prepared a presentation. So before I start, I want to give my thanks to all the people that I borrowed material from. So it's a really long list because whatever I prepared is not original at all. It is completely taken from all these elevated Vaishnavas. And out of them, I want to call out one special Vaishnava, His Grace Hari Gopal Prabhu. I met him at Govardhan Eco Village, and I heard this chapter the first time from him. So he's very special. So we heard this. Are you able to see my screen, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, clear, very clear.
So we heard about the glorious passing of Bhishma Dev and the departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. Dwarka itself is more important than the heavenly planets. It is because you can experience the Lord there. In the heavenly planets, there is a lot of luxury and enjoyment. But in the heavenly planets, what is missing is eternal life, eternal bliss, and eternal knowledge cannot be found there. This can only be attained by being engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. So it is recommended that we should live in one of the dhams, like Dwaraka, Mathura, Vrindavan, or Mayapur. So Lord Krishna and his abode are considered identical. So when we visit a dham, or when we stay in a dham, we can experience the Lord. In chapter 10, the Lord passed through Delhi, Punjab, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat. And there is mention that he passed through the provinces of Saraswata. So all the regions that the river Saraswati flows through are called the Saraswata. He then finally reached Dwaraka. And in the last verse, it also says that the Lord would do his prayers every evening. Now we are talking about the Lord here, the Lord who is self-sufficient. He does not need anything from anybody, but he still does these things so that we can follow his actions. In Bhagavad Gita 3:21, yad yad acharati shrestha tat tat evetaro janaha. Whatever prominent people do, others follow. At least I cannot lift mountains or fight demons, but whatever I can do, I should try to do. That is a personal realization that I got. I'm going to share a small story there. I had my thread ceremony done when I was 11 years old. And I was quite sincere with my prayers till I went to college. And then I abandoned everything. So here the Lord is showing us how to do things. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is so easy and is non-different from the Lord. And it is this transcendental sound vibration of the spiritual world. So the bare minimum that I can do is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So chapter 11 is called Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwaraka. This chapter has these major sections. So in the beginning, the Lord announces his arrival using his conch shell. The citizens rush to welcome the Lord, and the decorations of the city of Dwaraka are described after that. Then the Lord reciprocates with all the citizens, and how he reciprocates, we'll see that in detail. Then the Lord's beauty is described. Then the Lord's reciprocation with his mothers, headed by Devaki and his other mothers, other wives of Vasudeva. And then his dealings with the queens, his wives, the 16,108 wives. And then in the end, the chapter ends with the transcendental character of the Supreme Lord. So we'll try to see as much as possible in detail. So, we talked about Pandharpur last week. And, the mood of this chapter is the Lord has been away from Dwaraka for a considerably long period. And the residents of Dwaraka are the eternal associates of the Lord, and they are feeling a mood of dejection. So, I was thinking about this mood, and we talked about Pandharpur last week, and it is said that the devotees of Lord Vitthal and the name of Lord Vitthal are very, very special. Every saint in Maharashtra went there and they worshipped. The Varakari, Even now they grow singing and dancing, walking for 21 days, non-stop singing the name of the Lord. I've personally never gone to Pandharpur, but I've heard this. I've heard that when people enter Pandharpur, they get some unique experiences. And some get goosebumps, some might get tears in their eyes. So Sant Eknath is a revered saint in the Varakri tradition. And he was a huge devotee of the Lord of Pandharpur. So Sant Eknath, when he entered Pandharpur, we want to see how he felt. So he says he felt like he was entering his home. So, let's just imagine you go on a vacation and you stay in a luxurious resort, in a nice hotel somewhere. Then you come back. So when you come and when you enter your home, you feel so special because the home is a special place. So Sant Eknath says the same thing. He says, oh man, I'm home. Now we also want to see why do we feel special when we go home or when we reach home? It is not because of the structure. It is not because of the location that the home is. It is because of the people who live there. That's what makes a home a home. It is because of our loved ones who live there. And for Sant Eknath, it was the presence of the Lord that made Pandharpur his home. All his relatives are in Pandharpur, he says. Maze mahir Pandhari, Maze mahir Pandhari, Ahe bhivare chatheri, Ahe bhivare chatheri. Maze mahir Pandhari, Maze mahir Pandhari, Ahe bhivare chatheri, Ahe bhivare chatheri. Here he says, my Mahir is Pandhari. Mahir is mother's house. And he says, that's my mother's house. And it's on the banks of the Bhima Nadi. And it's also called Chandrabhaga. The river is called Chandrabhaga. Then in the next verse, he goes, Bapa Ani Ai, Bapa Ani Ai, Maze Vithala Ragumai, Maze Vithala Ragumai, Maze Vithala Ragumai, Maze Mahir Pandhari, Maze Mahir Pandhari, Ahe bhivare chatheri, Ahe bhivare chatheri. You probably understand this. Bap, as you know, his father, and Ai is mother. And he says, my father and mother are Vitthal and Ragumai. So all his relatives are in Pandharpur. And that's what Sant Eknath says. And then he continues, he says, Maji Bahini Chandrabhaga. So the river is actually his sister. And so that way he just surrounds, he celebrates Pandharpur, like his family. And the Lord is actually coming back to Dwaraka, where all his near and dear ones live. His favorite, all his devotees, his parents, his wives, they all live there, his children. And so the Lord is coming back there. So now the Lord is at the gates of Dwaraka. You can imagine, you can see the scene in your eyes. If you close your eyes, you can feel it. And he's blowing his conch shell. And we all know the name of the conch shell from the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And can someone help me with the name? Maybe the name of the Lord's conch shell?
Panchajanya.
Yeah, Panchajanya, yes. Let's take a small detour. In Canto 10, chapter 45, the Lord, after he killed Kamsa, and he offered his kingdom to his maternal grandfather Ugrasena, the Lord was then sent to Sandipani Muni. He was sent to a school. He was sent to an ashram, to Sandipani Muni's ashram in Avantipura. And this was a school where the Lord learned. So they say that in 64 days, he learned all the 64 traditional arts. And his education was all done. His and Lord Balaram's education was all done. Give me 1 second. He was going to take leave of his guru, and he wanted to offer his guru something as Guru Dakshina. So he asked his guru, what can I give you? The guru said that his son had died in an ocean. So he asked Krishna and Balaram to bring his son back. So Lord Krishna went to the ocean and he asked for the guru's son back. The ocean said that a demon named Panchajana had taken the boy away. So Krishna killed this demon and he took the shell that had grown on his body. And this is the conch shell, Panchajanya. And so then the Lord takes the conch shell and he uses it to call Yama to get the Guru's son back. And he brings the Guru's son back to the Guru. So going back, now we are at the gates of Dwarka. In the section 1 to 3, verses 1 to 3, the Lord produces a sound with the conch shell. And this was a transcendental sound. The sound is identical with the Lord. And the sound had a wonderful effect on the residents of Dwarka. They immediately got up. Whatever they were doing, some of them, it was almost like they were asleep, but they immediately got up and they hastened towards the Lord. This is because of the love that the residents of Dwarka had for the Lord. They saw the Lord as their protector. The word Bharta is used here in one of these verses. I think it's the third verse. The word Bharta is used. And in Sanskrit, it means protector. But in Malayalam, the word Bharta is used for husband. And also there was a lot of lalasaha, which is eagerness in the way the residents went to receive the Lord. So let us say a friend of yours is coming from another country and he's going to come to New York and you're going to go to the airport to receive your friend. How enthusiastic and how anxious you'll be to receive a friend or your parents from the airport. So that's, we can imagine how the residents of Dwarka felt. So in the next section, which is section with verses 4 to 10. So here the description is about the citizens. They are all bringing gifts for the Lord. And so they brought whatever they could. So they were, they all had their jobs. And some of them were weavers. So they bought some cloth. Some were potters, jewelers, whatever they had. And whatever was special, they got it for the Lord. They all got whatever the Lord would like. The Lord is Atmaram. He's self-satisfied. He's complete. And as we saw earlier, he doesn't need anything. He actually gives everything to us. But all the residents were bringing gifts for him. So the verse says that this is like offering a lamp in front of the sun. And we must have seen this in the holy Ganga. People take some water from the Ganga and they offer it back to the Ganga. So they're worshipping the Ganga with the Ganga. And so all these gifts are given with great love. And so what gift we give does not matter, but the spirit with which we give matters. That is bhakti. Anything that is done with love is bhakti. And we all have experienced this. Whenever we receive a gift that has been given to us with love, it really touches our heart. look at a small story that His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj narrated once in the, excuse me for a second. In the, he did it in one of his talks. He says, on my mother's birthday, one year, I forgot all about it. So I ran to the backyard where my mother had her rose garden. She had exactly 6 rose bushes growing because we only had a small backyard. She grew the roses herself. I took one of the roses, snapped it off, and ran to my mother. I gave her the rose and wished her happy birthday. She started to cry in joy. She was so happy that I gave her the rose, even though I stole it from her. She didn't need it, but the fact that it was offered with affection melted her heart. And she told me, it's not the thing that counts, it's the thought that counts. Things could never bring any fulfillment to the heart. Only love brings fulfillment to the heart. In the nectar of instruction, text 4, Dadati Pratigranati, Srila Rupa Goswami explains the 6 loving exchanges between devotees. The Lord is being a role model for us. So this is actually an ultimate secret of how to make and enrich friendships and relationships. The 6 exchanges that are explained in this verse, and I'll only say the first 2 of them. The 6 are so wonderful. All 6 of them are so wonderful. Giving charity to the devotees, that is giving gifts, and accepting from the devotees whatever they may offer in return. So this is what Srila Rupa Goswami recommends. So the Lord is showing us through his example by receiving enthusiastically whatever the residents had brought in. So the citizens affectionately welcomed the Lord, and they started speaking enthusiastically. Utfulla Gadagadaya is one of the verses says, which is their voices were faltering because of the devotional ecstasy that they were feeling. Now we cannot imagine this devotional ecstasy, at least I cannot feel it. But imagine a small boy who lives with his parents. And then for work, his father has to go out of the country for a few months. The boy asks his mother every day, where's daddy? Where's daddy? The mother assures him, don't worry, son. Your father will come back tomorrow. She just makes up a story every day. The boy is disappointed every day. Then one day the mother tells him, let's go to the airport. Your dad's going to come today. So they both go to the airport and they're waiting outside. And the boy sees his father really far away. He breaks free from his mother and he runs towards his father. He goes and he hugs his father and he starts talking. Can you imagine the talk that he'll talk? That's exactly how the citizens of Dwaraka were talking to the Lord. Gadagadaya, Utfulla. The translation says, actually the translation exactly says, just as wards or children welcome their guardian or their father. So I wanted to share a personal experience here, personal realization here. So when my daughter was 2 or 3 years old, every day when I would come back from work, she would run towards me and grab my knees. It would feel like she was doing a football tackle. I would be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then I would carry her. The word pitaram is used here for the relationship. Pitaram means father. So we saw Bharata in the first section, which means protector. And now we saw pitaram. So the citizens continued their prayers. And they said that your worship by all the demigods like Brahma, Indras, the Sanat Kumaras. We bow down to your lotus feet. And they also say that even time that can destroy everything cannot exert its influence on you. And acharyas say that the time cannot exert its influence on the devotees as well. So then they continue, the residents of Dwarka, they continue their prayers. They say that, oh Lord, you've gone to all these other places like Mathura, Vrindavana, Hastinapura, and when you're not there, it feels like our eyes are useless. So if you can imagine, it is like, yeah, I think we can all imagine what it means. So you are, they continue, you are our mother, our father, and our well-wisher. You have made this world for our sake. You have provided everything to us. You have given us everything. You've given us everything we need to come back to you. Our life has become auspicious by worshipping you. So here the devotees, the residents of Dwarka are saying that our life has transformed just by worshipping you and by knowing you. And maybe a couple of you can share, how have you benefited by knowing the Lord or by being part of Krishna consciousness? How has your life changed? How do you feel? What is different between before and after? What has changed? Maybe if you're comfortable, one of you can share. One or two of you can share. I'd love to hear.
I can share, Prabhu.
Please.
This is Lekha. So I feel like earlier I would be, if things don't go the way I want, I'll be very worried and tensed and stressed about it, and I would always try to make things go the way I want. But then after slowly, whatever little that I read or hear absorb, I feel like even if things don't go my way, I feel like I'm less anxious because I feel like Krishna, who knows me better than me, is taking control of it. So I don't worry about things that much. Even if it hurts temporarily, I know at the end of the day, it's for my best.
Wonderful. That's a great benefit. That's a great benefit that you're experiencing. That's such an amazing benefit. It's almost like a superpower that you have now. Anybody else want to share how your life has changed and what do you feel now? What do you feel differently from before? It's okay. And my realization was also similar to you, Lekha Mataji. When I've become a lot more patient, a lot more understanding, a lot more lot more forgiving and caring, I think. I think so that's, you just see that effect in you.
I can share, Prabhu.
Please.
So definitely I agree with both of you that the lower tendencies come into our control kind of once we start practicing Krishna consciousness. One thing that I have felt when I look back at my life pre-Krishna consciousness days, and when I compare them with the current state of my life, I very strongly feel that I have a solid direction in my life now. I mean, a spiritual direction. I mean, of course, it's a long way to go for me, but at least I know, I have faith that that whatever I'm doing has to be built on that spiritual foundation. Only then can it reach its ultimate fulfillment. And yeah, that way. And then the community that I have received, luckily, I have gotten the protection of many senior devotees always throughout my Krishna consciousness days. So that's a big fortune that I have had, and that community feeling that I would say struggling together, holding each other's hands. That has been really heart touching for me. So yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful realizations, Prabhu. Thank you so much for sharing that. You've got a nice direction in your life, a solid direction, and I would argue it is probably both spiritual and material direction, because a direction is a direction, and as long as you're going towards your goal, even materially the goal will be met, whatever the goal is.
True.
And so it's wonderful realization too, and the point about association is also very, very wonderful. So the devotees continue, the Dwarkavasis continue to say, thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Mataji, for sharing that. So the devotees, the Dwarkavasis, they say, we are so fortunate to be under your protection. Your darshan is rare even for the gods in heaven. And sometimes even they cannot see you. Sometimes even they cannot see you. They will, this is the verse there. Sometimes they can only talk to the Lord from really far away, and the Lord's like in the middle of the Milky Ocean. And sometimes the Lord only talks to Brahma, and from Brahma they get the message back. But for us, for Dwarkavasis, you come to us and you're so close to us, and you look at us with eyes laden with love, and your form is so auspicious. They keep glorifying Him. So here, I heard this story in a class about Gopal Krishna Maharaj. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, as you all know, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj is a very, very popular Maharaj, sannyasi, and he's got thousands of devotees and thousands of disciples. And so when he comes to different cities, like for example, this story that I heard, when he comes to Pune, there are hundreds of people thronging to see him. And obviously he cannot meet with everybody, but there are people always waiting outside his door, just waiting to see him. And so what he will do is he'll notice that a family is there, and he'll just look at them and he'll say, "Theek ho na? You're okay, right?" And that'll be enough. That's enough for them. They will, for the next year or so, they're completely satisfied that Maharaj has seen them. So, as we saw before, our eyes are completely useless without you. It is like how the eyes are useless when it is pitch dark, and when there is no sun, then even having the eyes doesn't matter, because you can't see anything. So what Dwarkavasis are saying is, we cannot enjoy life without you. You are our life. And let's say a man goes home and his wife is not at home, and he sees his wife's bag there, a bag or clothing or something. Will he get the same joy as he'll get by seeing her? Obviously he'll not. So the wife's things won't give him pleasure. So it is people who give us pleasure or joy. So it is because there is a spirit soul in people. And this spirit soul which is in people is nothing but Krishna. And so we experience a small piece of that joy in our relations and in our association. The Dwarkavasis continued about Krishna spending significant amounts of time with the Pandavas. And then, so after all these prayers, the Lord acknowledges all of them. He acknowledges all the Dwarkavasis, and he acknowledges them just with his transcendental glance. So this glance is so powerful that inert matter gets life. And all of creation anything that you see, anything that is there in this functioning in this universe is all because of Lord Krishna's glance. So can you imagine how satisfied the Dwarkavasis must have felt just to have that glance of the Lord, just to have the Lord glance at them. So in another class, I'd heard that when you go to a temple, and when you ask some people, why are you going to the temple? They say you're going there to see the lordships. In a class, I heard that we actually should go to a temple in the hope that the Lord glances upon us and that we get blessed. So we have so much to learn from the Dwarkavasis and their love for the Lord. The way the love is expressed by the Dwarkavasis. So then in the next section, it's about the decorations of the city of Dwarka. Srila Prabhupada says, so I'm quoting from the commentary directly from the purports, perfection of human civilization is made possible by utilizing the gifts of nature in their own way. As we find here within the description of its opulence, Dwarka was surrounded by flower gardens and fruit orchards along with reservoirs of water and growing lotuses. Srila Prabhupada says there is no mention of mills and factories supported by slaughterhouses, which is what we see today when we go into the modern city. So the people in Dwarka depended on nature's gifts and not on things that were produced in factories. We can also pay attention to that as much as possible in our lives. So there is description of the arches along the roads were nicely decorated with plantain trees and mango leaves. Even now, mango leaves, coconut palms, and plantain trees are considered auspicious, and a South Indian wedding is incomplete without all these things. So in the anticipation of the Lord's arrival of the Dwarka was cleaned, was nicely cleaned, and there is description of the highways being thoroughly cleansed, not with just any water. They were thoroughly cleansed with scented water. So, and there were a lot of fruits, flowers, unbroken seeds of grain. They were all strewn on the floor, and Dwarka was spotlessly clean. So the other day I saw photographs of the Maha cleanup that you all did at the 2nd Avenue Temple. That is such amazing service for Srila Prabhupada. So we tend to clean our house when a near and dear one is going to visit us, because we want their experience to be the absolute best. So that is what the Dwarkavasis were doing for the Lord. It reminded me of a childhood story. We would go to Tirupati every year. And I don't know if you guys have gone to Tirupati, but if you go there early in the morning, you can see the roads being cleaned thoroughly with water. So they have these trucks that spray water and they clean the roads. As a child, I used to be so amazed at how clean the roads were in Tirumala and Tirupati. So something similar was being done in Dwarka to make sure that they were making sure that the roads were very, very clean. And food was distributed. So there was food everywhere, and that was distributed. And every house was decorated along the road. And this also happens, traditionally in when there is a Rath Yatra or something that is coming. Everybody prepares their house to receive the Lord. And then everybody has some prasad or something like that to give away. This was exactly what was done in Dwarka. Now let's go to the next section, which is, we have a lot of sections to go. This is the Lord's reciprocation of the reception. So the Lord first, I think we have done most of the reciprocation for the Dwarkavasis. Now the next section is where he reciprocates with his relatives. So there is mention of Vasudeva, the Lord's father, Akrura, and Balaram, Baladeva, Lord Baladeva, and his sons. So they all welcomed him in a Vedic way, and Vedic hymns were being chanted, and they were really nice in welcoming him. Sometimes when we are welcomed, we can see how sincere the welcome is. If a learned person is coming to our temple, we treat them with personal care, then they can feel it. They can sense the care that we give them. A poet, Maya Angelou, a famous American poet, she said that people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So that is something worth remembering. Now after this, there is mention of how the Lord reciprocated with all the devotees and his relatives, and the word that is used is yatavidi, which is that Srila Prabhupada translates it as it behoves. So the Lord actually satisfied everybody who had come to welcome him. And he satisfied the devotees exactly in the way that they wanted to be satisfied. So, we cannot use the same words and actions with everybody we meet, right? Some people we may shake hands with them, some people will hug, give them an embrace. And some people will talk to them really nicely. Some people will just say hello to them. So the Lord has a unique sense where he knew exactly what would please every person, and he treated them exactly as they wanted to be treated. So that's something to learn from the Lord. And also in the Bhagavad Gita, 4:11, it says, Ye yatamam prapadyante tams tateva bhajamyaham. So the Lord is reciprocal, and that is what we learn here. And the other thing that we also learn from the Lord is how to show respect to others, how to show respect to the people who care about us. So in the next section deals with the beauty of the Lord, and that's an amazing section that is worth delving into deeply. So as the Lord was walking, the ladies, I have a picture of this, the ladies from respectable homes, they were on the rooftops, and they wanted to just have a look at the Lord, because the Lord was so beautiful. And our bodies will go through birth, old age, disease, death, and our bodies are governed by the laws of nature, but the Lord's body is not like that. It's not under any of these physical laws, and his body is the source of everything. Imagine everything in the world, the natural creation, and how beautiful it is. Everything around you, the blade of grass, the trees, the sky, the ocean, the clouds, the rainbows. And if you collect all this beauty and put it together, even that will be less than the beauty of the Lord. So there are verses that compares the Lord's beauty to this, to all these things. After this, obviously this beauty was just so much that the residents of Dwarka were never satisfied with this beauty. And in the next section, the Lord enters and he meets his mothers. Now, this is a very special section. He offered his obeisances to all his mothers. The Lord, who is the Lord of the universe, again, he plays the role of an ideal son. His mothers are so attached to the Lord that they take him and they seat him on their lap, and they're so overwhelmed with delight there's tears flowing from their eyes, and it's almost like the Lord is getting a tear abhishek. So there is a similar episode in Lord Chaitanya's life. After Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, he came to Shantipur and saw his mother Sachi Mata there. He offered his obeisances to his mother, and obviously the Lord must have felt that I'm adding this, that maybe his mother is angry that he's taken sannyas. So the Lord says, I must have been a mad man to take sannyas. I have no right to hurt you, O mother. So Sachi Mata took the Lord on her lap and she cried. Very similar to how the mothers of the Lord cried in Dwaraka. So this is Vatsalya love that we can experience through the mothers. In the next section, verses 30 to 35, we see his dealings with the queens. So Lord Krishna had 16,108 wives. And for each and every one of them, there was a fully equipped palace with necessary compounds, gardens, every facility that you can imagine. And the full description of these palaces is given in the 10th canto. So the Lord had married these 16,000, you all know the story of Bhaumasura or Narakasura and how he had rescued these women and he had later, married them. But the Lord actually took up all the activities like an ordinary person. He did various types of service for each of his wives. And the Lord expanded himself so that every one of his wives and every one of the queens felt like that he was only with them. And so these queens, they had also come to receive the Lord. They were also there. They saw their husband, the Lord, from a distance, and they got up from their seats, but they were shy. And they sent their sons to go and embrace the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada says here that one indirectly embraces the husband by sending the son to embrace him. Because the son is developed out of the part of mother's body. So in verse 34, there is a verse which is one verse that I couldn't find much material on. This is about how the Lord eliminated the evil rulers on the earth and how intelligent he is in doing that. I think this verse itself, we have to learn from some Acharya. So then there is mention of the Lord living as a householder, and this certainly feels like a mundane affair, where he's playing the role of a husband as a householder. But the Lord is never mundane, and his behavior should not be considered mundane, because his behavior is transcendental, and he's able to do this exact same thing with everybody that he interacts with all of us too. If we interact with him and he'll reciprocate with us as much as we want him to. So in this last section, and after that I'll wrap up. In the last section, the Lord, there is talk about the transcendental nature of the Lord. There is mention about the queens who are very, very beautiful. They're beautiful in all respects. They're so beautiful that they could even conquer Cupid, who is the god of love, if they wanted. They're that beautiful. And but still, the Lord is not attracted to them physically. The Lord is only attracted by their service attitude or their seva bhav. So he appreciates the service of his devotees. The Lord appreciates the service of his devotees. And in any way that we want to serve the Lord can be served. And so even from the transcendental wives, the transcendental wives of the Lord, they did not know the complete glories of the Lord, but they wanted to serve him. And so in this whole chapter, if you notice, the Lord actually exchanges his relations as a proprietor. We saw him as a proprietor, as a master, as a friend, with all the Dwarkavasis, as a son with his mother, and as a lover with his wives. So I'll quickly summarize. So in this beautiful chapter, in the 11th chapter, we saw the Lord's entrance into Dwarka. We saw how the Lord announced his arrival with the sound of the conch shell. And this transcendental sound is not different from the Lord. And it has the ability to eliminate all our worries and sorrows. He was received by the citizens of Dwarka, who gave him gifts and expressed their love to him. The citizens had cleaned and decorated Dwarka for his arrival. The Lord reciprocated with all the citizens. They felt like the Lord was only reciprocating with them. The Lord met all his friends, his relatives, and then the Lord's beauty is described. His beauty, his incomparable beauty is described. The Lord's love for his mothers and the mother's love for the Lord is also described, and his respect for them. Then his interaction with his wives. And the Lord gave everybody all personal attention, and all this love was without any material contamination. So with that, I'd love to conclude this discussion. I'd love to hear any feedback or any questions that, or any thoughts that you all have. And if I've made any mistakes in this, these mistakes are purely mine. I've tried to only copy paste from, but I've copy pasted from multiple sources. So thank you so much for this opportunity once again. Gaur Kumar Prabhu and all the others, thank you so much for this. This was such a wonderful experience for me.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So this was one of the best classes that we have heard in this Zoom Sangha. So thank you so much for taking the time, Krishnan Prabhu. It was soul stirring and heart touching. It was just amazing. The points that I really liked was like how you said, when we come back to our home, we come back home, we are happy, not because of our home, but because of the people who live there. And better than that is the presence of the Lord. That is what makes us really happy. And then worshipping Ganges water back into the Ganges. So it's not the content that's important, but the intent, as Chaitanya Charan Prabhu always mentions. So it is about our intent and our love, as you mentioned wonderfully. And then I really liked how you mentioned about the daughter running towards the father. In fact, we can learn so much from children, the way they cry out to their parents. If we can only cry out like that for the Supreme Lord, the way they run towards their parents, if we can only run towards the Supreme Lord like that, there's so much to learn from children. But over the years, something happens where they lose that connection. And if only that connection can be diverted or redirected towards the Lord, this life will be perfect. So as parents, as facilitators, as mentors, as guides, if we can just keep nurturing that and keep redirecting that love that they have for the parents towards the Supreme Lord, then their lives will be successful and our lives will be successful also. So I'll stop here. I have so many things to share, but I want others. So Vishal Prabhu has something. Please go ahead, Vishal.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Amazing lecture. It just penetrated the heart, and I just felt it like with every slide and everything. Even that that you sang that bhajan, or that it was so like from the heart you were singing, and every realization that you shared. I have heard such a lecture after I feel like very nourished, and I feel, as you said, like you have like copy pasted. I feel like if I can copy paste you the way you have, just absorbed this much, I will be very, feel so nourished and grateful. Thank you, Prabhu. It touched my heart. All I can say. Thank you.
I went to Dwarka along with you, Krishnan, Prabhu.
Thank you, Amma. Thank you.
Thank you, Krishnan Prabhu. Amazing class. So many points you made with stories, and it was amazing. And the way you recited the Abhangas, Maje Mahera Pandari. Yeah, it was amazing. And just so you know, even I had my thread ceremony done when I was 7-8 years old, and I didn't even last till college. I left it. I left it literally not. I didn't even continue throughout my primary school. I left it even before high school. So yeah, it gets ritualistic at times, but yeah. Amazing points you shared and so many examples. I was amazed to see how much research you did, so many sources you heard, because it takes really a lot of effort to collate all the information in a streamlined way, that has a proper flow with a proper conclusion, bringing out the right lessons out of every point, and supporting stories. It takes really a huge effort. So thank you so much. Yeah, you've set a very high bar for me for next time.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I've just learned from you, and thank you for the opportunity again.
Vinay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Krishnan Prabhu, Dhanavats. So really amazing class, amazing slides, and I mean, as just Prabhu mentioned, the systematic approach and the slides on the every slides there was like which verse we are following, which pastimes we are discussing. Everything was mentioned, and then you embedded so nice stories and realization in between. And I really appreciate, Prabhu, the list of all the lectures that you heard, you shared, and so many lectures you heard and shared essence with all of us, like taking so much time, preparing so many beautiful slides. Like every slide, I loved every slide. And so like during all the classes, I look forward to your comments and questions. Actually, I really like, I have special appreciation for those. So the class was like equally good or more than that. And the few points I like you mentioned that time cannot exert its effect on Lord and as well as on his devotees. I really loved this point. And then Gopal Krishna Maharaj's pastime. I have seen Maharaj in Pune temple and how like devotees run after him when he comes, and with just one word like, and they are like so happy. So I have seen it. So thank you for sharing that. And so many other points, Prabhu, that Dwarka cleaned, and how you connected it with like if someone near and dear ones come at our house, we try to keep it clean and give them nice experience. The Dwarka people had same experience because Krishna was close to them, and then mothers of Dwarka and Sachimata, and so many other wonderful points. So thank you so much, Prabhu. And yeah, I mean, you really set a really high bar for these sessions that we have. So thank you so much again for all your time, and I loved each and every point. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Suman.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Great class, Krishna Prabhu. Just like Auntie said, I also felt like I was in, Dwarika, waiting for a little glance from the Lord, and standing in the corner. So also, the love that we feel at home and outside the home and places where we go and we feel good, it's because of the presence of the Lord there. That was a takeaway message for me. I never thought about that ever, that why do I feel good at certain places or meeting at certain people? It's really the presence of Lord there that makes us go there and meet with them. So whether it's inside the house or outside the house. So thank you for the classes. It was very enlightening.
Thank you. Thank you, Suman. Thank you so much. Thank you, Suman Mataji. Suman is my neighbor. And Rukmani, there is my mother. She's joined from India. Thank you so much.
Sindhu Kanya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Krishnan Prabhu. This was a very easy to follow, clear class. So all the points that you made, you know, the whole entire flow of the presentation was very understandable, and that's why I really, really liked it. And as Vinay Prabhu said, in everyone else's lectures, you so keenly and attentively listen, and all of your comments and reflections are so deep, and that really reflects also in the preparation that you did for this lecture, because we can see how, you know, how much you think about everything and how much effort you put into your presentations. And one thing that I like everyone said, I liked a lot of the things you talked about, but one particular thing that I really liked about your lecture was how you made all the sequence of events in this chapter very relatable. So starting out with, you know, how you would go to receive your parents from the airport is how the Dwarkavasis were going to receive Krishna, and how when you're receiving guests at home, you clean your house, and how as kids run to their parents when they come home. So all these examples made it very easy to understand the emotions of the Dwarkavasis. And so I gained like a deeper appreciation for this chapter. So thank you so much for painting such a wonderful picture of this chapter.
Thank you so much, Mataji. This is entirely my pleasure to prepare this.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Lekha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Krishna and Prabhu. Very, very well paced class. I feel like you meant each and every word that you spoke, and exactly what Vishal Prabhu said. It was very deep, and I just feel like there were a lot of realizations that you had, that your words were coming from. And I think I really like each and every point, but one realization I think I have now is, you know, before that, I just want to say that I remember in your previous class, you had taken us to a tour of Guruvayur in South India. And then this class, you have taken us to like Dwaraka. So thank you for that. So thank you for that. And now one thing I realized was, you know, you were talking about various aspects of Krishna as a supreme being, like, you know, he was able to learn 64 arts in 64 days, and taking the conch from Panchajanya, from the body of the demon, and rescuing 16,000 wives, and, you know, being personally present for each and every one of them. Just by his spiritual transcendental glance, he's able to activate even a dead matter. So all of these just establish how supreme Krishna is. And I think one takeaway point that I really want to realize is, if we have such a person, and if such a person can love us more than how much we can love him, then I don't think I just feel like that's like the biggest shelter, and there is nothing really that should like bother us, as long as we trust in this love and we trust in this reciprocation, that it's like the supreme being is in love with us, and he's like watching out for us. So there can nothing that can go wrong. So thank you for that. It really helps me, you know, uncertain times, it really helps me keep myself grounded and clear headed. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you for your realizations too. That was so wonderful.
So Krishnan Prabhu, if it's okay, can I quickly ask you one simple question?
Please.
So Prabhu, I think the essence of this chapter is like how the Dwarkavasis welcomed Krishna. We should also welcome Krishna into our hearts. So you mentioned several things like washing, cleaning the roads, and then decorating the place, and having that love, and so on. So do you have any tips on how we can welcome Krishna into our hearts? What some practical tips that you follow, and how you welcome Krishna into your heart, and what we can all follow based on your realization, please?
That's a really good question, Prabhu. You know, I think, I don't know if I'm qualified to answer this, but the one thing that I try to do is being eager. and being eager and having an open mind and listening to realize souls. I used to, now I'm going to share some negative parts about my past life, which is I used to judge quite a bit, where, I had this thing of judging where, I would say, okay, this is not a good use of my time. And I would not listen to things. And I think the way I've changed is just that I still judge, but I judge. I don't judge as much. I just welcome any ideas, any thoughts, especially from acharyas and gurus, and shiksha gurus, and listen to them with an open mind. And I've felt this experience many times where, I listened to the first 10 minutes of a class, and the way I used to be about 10 years ago is, I would say, oh, this is a waste of my time. I know all this, and I would stop it. Now what I do is I don't stop it anymore. Even if it feels like I know everything, I still listen to it. And, the way the Lord reciprocates is true because I've personally experienced it. The Lord actually, in that lecture, will give me some realization, which I had not expected at all. And it happens again and again. And that's the only thing I can say is to be, I think, maybe it's to be humble and be receptive and to listen to everybody is probably the only, that's the only thing I can think of, Prabhu. I don't know if that's an okay answer.
Wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you so much. The eagerness, not judging, listening with an open heart. So thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. Wonderful points. Thank you.
Thank you. And then there are some comments in the chat.
Yes.
And this maybe we'll save these, and before Casey, I would think that I have control over my life. I can steer the way I wanted to, but after Casey, I feel like I'm a passenger, not the driver of my life. I'm more grateful now than wonderful realization, Mataji. Love the analogy of the residents towards the Lord and His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj visit his disciples. I also remember when Radhanath Maharaj visits New York City, the same feeling I get when Maharaj glances upon us and offers his merciful smile upon us. That would be enough for us until next year. Yes, that's the wonderful points, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Krishna Prabhu. So very soon we'll be ending this particular first canto. There are 19 chapters, so I think by July first week we'll be done. So after that, we will go into some specific chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita, because that was the second thing that many of us picked in the survey that we did. So I'm coming up with a list of chapters from the Adi Leela, Madhya Leela, and Antya Leela. Some chapters which are not very esoteric, but which have wonderful lessons in them to understand at our level. And that can also increase our taste for Chaitanya Charitamrita. So just letting all of you know that that's the plan after Bhagavatam first canto. So with that, just want to thank Krishnan Prabhu again one more time. So Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grace Krishnan Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.